TelecomTV, where ICT connects.
Hello, I'm Martyn Warwick from TelecomTV, reporting from California at ETSI's fourth meeting of its NFV ISG, and what a meeting it's been. The ISG itself has only been going for 9 months, and that's even less time than ETSI's NFV initiative itself. But as you're about to hear from some of those attending, it has achieved a great deal in a very short space of time. Now they're looking forward to NFV proofs of concept, real trials and limited deployments in a year or so's time, and then full-scale NFV in some telco environments in about 3 years. That is a really good start. Here's Martin Taylor of Metaswitch.
This is an initiative that was kicked off by the service providers. This hasn't come from vendors, and that's a really important thing. What the service providers have succeeded in doing over the last year is mobilizing a large number of vendors who have not traditionally provided networking equipment to those service providers. And they've created a framework that enable those vendors to come together, form partnerships, propose solutions, discuss how they're going to work together and how they're going to make this happen. And I think they've succeeded actually beyond their most optimistic expectations. The momentum has been building quite extraordinarily, and the number of people that are here today is a clear evidence of that.
There's no power like an idea whose time has come, it's been said. And I think the concept of virtualization, which has achieved 50 to 60% cost gains in the IT industry, has been hovering over the telco space for a long time, and we want to be able to achieve those kind of gains. Certainly, the possibility exists. There are a lot of vendors now who, at one time, would compete against each other. Now they're in a common framework talking together, and even service providers who are competing against each other are working together, because we have to address the problem of rising costs and working our way up the value chain. We don't have that capability easily in the network, that complex network that we've designed today. In fact, if network functions virtualization technology was available the way it is today, by the time the 3GPP standards, the 3GPP2 standards were invented, those standards would have been written very differently. And I think people realize across the board that there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's also a lot of people who want this to happen sooner, and so the vendors are responding to their customers.
Well, I think the first major contribution has been to get everyone across the telecoms industry to agree on the importance of shifting to using widely available commercial platforms, cloud technology, to start to deliver network services. That's the first thing, and that was actually achieved at the very start. And I think the second thing has been to start to put some detail around that vision. What are the things that service providers will need to do, what technology is needed, and the recent publication by the ISG of the initial set of documents actually starts to put a foundation that goes beyond the vision and says, these are the things that we need to do. We need an architecture, we need the infrastructure, and we need the orchestration and management of that new global infrastructure.
But we're hearing constantly from our customers, from service providers, fixed, mobile, cable, how they want to really work to untangle their networks. How can they really drive that separation of services from the underlying routing network and give them much more of the freedom, the agility to make changes on the fly, to be much more responsive to their customers.
Along with the distribution of network functions across a uniform substrate of architecture, a lot of questions are raised about, well, how do you manage that? How do you instantiate those functions? How do you scale them? How do you grow them? And how do you get these different functions to talk to each other so they can create a new end-to-end service? And that's been one of the foremost study topics within my group, the software architecture group, and also within the management and orchestration group. See, the good thing about the work that we're doing here, one of the good things in the ETSI forum, is I believe we have succeeded in shaving years off the development time of deploying network functions virtualization through getting the vendors to talk to each other and listening to the service providers' needs and having the service providers aggregate a common pool of needs that have to be developed first. We've been able to put a lot of the key issues on the table and accelerate the development of the thought and design behind network functions virtualization.
We're not talking about writing new standards. We're talking about simply encouraging the industry to come up with solutions. There are certain definitions that are important. We need to define frameworks and terminology, so we have a common language for discussing all this. But the theme here is let's make this happen, and let's not get wrapped around too much process. Let's just facilitate the industry to make this change.
TelecomTV, where ICT connects.